So have you ever run into a situation where you've just said, this is just not for me. I'm going to throw in the towel, whatever that might be, an endeavor, a hobby, pastime, an athletic endeavor, a project that you have, just where you say, it's just not me. Well, I want to offer you a way to get re-stoked. And I believe that you can get re-stoked. And I'm going to offer you 4 different elements, sort of mental elements, that might help you to get re-enthused, re-engaged, and recommitted to whatever that endeavor or hobby or pastime or athletic endeavor or project might have been. Let me give you a little bit of context about this. I used to like to surf. Well, and I thought that I was going to be able to be good at surfing. I was not. And at one point along the way, I went down to a break down in Costa Rica, and the waves were so high, the conditions of the ocean were so rough, and I tried to surf and practically killed myself, almost drowned, because I was just out of my element altogether. And at that point, I said to myself, and I've been surfing for about 5 years at that point. At that point, I just said, I am just not a natural at this. This is just not good for me. But I really want to keep trying. So I took about 6 months off, and I went back. I went back to the same break in Costa Rica, and I said, okay, what can I do to help me get re-stoked for something that I really want to be doing? And it occurred to me that the first thing I needed to recognize was that, the conditions has changed. The conditions that I was trying to surf 6 months earlier had completely changed. And so on the surface, I was able to say, okay, this is probably normal. And in any situation, the conditions will indeed change. So I was able to go back to it with a different set of conditions, ones that I thought I could handle, ones that I thought were more manageable for me. Second thing I did was I got a really great coach. Now, I'd had a good coach before, but I got a really terrific coach this time out. And he was able to really help me refine my technique, refine the way I popped up, refine the way I rode on the board, refine the way I read waves, to be able to really make a difference in how I was surfing. That was cool. That was great. The third thing I did was to commit to his coaching. That is to say, what he coached me on, I was determined to take that into practice and to work that into how I went about my surfing every single day. And then the fourth thing I allowed myself to do was to congratulate myself. Just to be content with what I had done and go on to the next day. So it's a combination of the conditions, the coaching, my commitment, and allowing myself to be content with the progress I'd made. And those are the 4 C's I want to talk to you about, the 4 elements I want to talk to you about, to help you think about, what can I do? What can I do to re-stoke? The first, again, comes down to the idea that the conditions will have changed by the time you go back. The conditions will have changed. So recognize what the changed scope of the landscape is, and ask yourself, how can I engage in these different conditions? The second element I want you to consider is, who could coach you? Who could you engage yourself as a mentor or a coach to really help you get over this idea that I'm just not a natural, that I'm just not good at this? Who could really rally you and point out what you could be doing differently so that you can progress, that you can really be better tomorrow than you were the last time around? The third thing I'd ask you to consider is your own commitment. Now, commitment takes courage. Commitment is throwing yourself into it with courage that you can take this on. Now, courage, if you want to look at it, breaks down 2 ways. If we take a look at the dictionary definition of courage, the dictionary talks about mental resolve, firmness of mind to carry through. But courage also has at its root the French word cœur, which means heart, which means you put your heart into something as well. So if you have the mental resolve and the heart to throw yourself into whatever endeavor you're trying to undertake, that is your commitment to that endeavor. But it takes mental resolve and a desire, a heartfelt desire, to follow through. And then the fourth element I want to ask you to consider around getting re-stoked is to congratulate yourself. It is to, if you will, be content with the steps that you are moving forward. And with that contentment, then instead of being saying to yourself, it's got to be all or nothing, you allow yourself to take those small steps that in the aggregate really do amount to a big deal. All four together really are a way to try to get re-stoked when you found you've lost your enthusiasm. Re-stoked when you found you've just said, no, it's not for me. Re-stoked. That's our whole point. So go, get re-stoked.